Did you know that a single thread of silk, a commodity we often take for granted, was once worth its weight in gold? That's right, this delicate thread not just draped the royals but also spun the wheel of the world economy. The Silk Road was a network of trade routes that stretched over 4,000 miles connecting the east and west. It was like the ancient world's version of internet. It was a massive information superhighway, except instead of data, it was goods, ideas, and cultures that were being exchanged. And today, we're talking about just that. What was the Silk Road? Now, when we think about the Silk Road, we often picture caravan laden with luxurious silk traveling across desolate deserts. And while silk was indeed a major commodity, it was far from the only one. It was like the Amazon of its time, dealing in everything from spices to precious stones, from ivory to exotic animals, and from gold to, believe it or not, rhubarb. It was once considered as precious as silk in some parts of the world. Apart from being a marketplace, it was also a melting pot of different cultures and ideas. As traders traveled along these routes, they brought with them their beliefs, their languages, and their ways of life. This led to an unprecedented level of cultural exchange, like Buddhism, which originated in India, spread to China and other parts of East Asia, primarily through the Silk Road. The Silk Road also facilitated the spread of knowledge and technology. Papermarking, which was invented in China, spread to the west via the Silk Road. Similarly, the technology for making glass moved from the Roman Empire to China along these routes. So you see, the Silk Road was much more than just a trade route. It was a conduit for exchange of goods. Yes, but also of ideas, cultures, and technologies. It connected humanity in a way that had never been done before, and in doing so, it shaped the course of history. Mechanics of Silk Road. Having understood what Silk Road was, let's now turn our attention to how it actually worked. You might be imagining yourself traveling the entire length of the Silk Road, from China all the way to Rome. But no, that's not how it worked. The Silk Road functioned on a system of relay trade. Goods were passed from one trader to another like a baton in a relay race. So as a relay, you would travel a certain distance along the route, sell your goods to another trader, and then return home. The trader would then carry the goods further along the route, and so on. This system of relay trade was pretty efficient, but let's not stretch it. There were challenges. The Silk Road traversed some of the harshest terrain on Earth, from scorching desert to freezing mountain passes. The traders had to contend with these extreme conditions, not to mention the threat of bandits and pirates. Thanks to the role of caravans, the Silk Road thrived despite these challenges. These were groups of traders who traveled together for safety. They were often made up of camels, the ship of the desert. These hardy creatures could withstand the harsh desert conditions and carry heavy loads, making them the ideal mode of transportation. Typically, a caravan could consist up to 1,000 camels, each carrying as much as 500 pounds of goods. Apart from camels, there were horses, mules, and even yaks were used, depending on the terrain. These animals were often fitted with special saddles to carry the good. These saddles, known as pack saddles, were designed to distribute the weight evenly, preventing injuries to the animal. Now leading these caravans were the nomads. They were the ones who knew the routes and safe passages, the oases, and the dangerous terrains. They were the guides, the protector, and the traders. Nomads lived a life on the move, herding their animals from pasture to pasture. This lifestyle made them experts in travel and survival. They kind of knew how to navigate deserts, the high mountain passes, and the endless steeps, and they used this knowledge to guide caravans along the Silk Road. You can say the journey was slow and arduous. A caravan could cover about 20 to 25 miles a day, meaning a journey from China to Rome could take up to 2 years, but the promise of profit made it worth the risk. Architects. Okay, let's take a step back and talk about the architects of the Silk Road. Starting from the Han Dynasty, which ruled China from 206 BC to 220 AD. They were constantly under the threat from nomadic tribes to the north. They needed allies, and they found them in the distant lands of the west. But to reach these allies, they needed a route, and so the Silk Road was born. The Han Dynasty also maintained and protected the road. They built watchtowers and stationed soldiers along the routes to protect traders from bandits. They established rest stations where traders could replenish their supplies. In short, they made the Silk Road a viable and profitable venture. Along important trade routes was Royal Road, stretching over 1,500 miles. It connected the city of Susa, near the Persian Gulf, to the Aegean Sea. It was the longest road to the ancient world, and it played a crucial role in facilitating trades and communication within the Persian Empire. The Royal Road was also a symbol of Persian Empire's might and sophistication. The road was well maintained, with regular stations providing food, shelter, and fresh horses for the king's messengers. It's said that a message could travel the length of the road in just a week, a remarkable feat for the time. Marco Polo. Among the many travelers on the Silk Road, there was one single one whose journey along these ancient routes forever changed the world. His name was Marco Polo, a Venetian merchant, explorer, and a writer who traveled along the Silk Road in the 13th century. His journey, which lasted a staggering 24 years, took him from Venice all the way to the court of Kublai Khan in China. Marco Polo was one of the first Westerners to travel the Silk Road to China and return to tell the tale. His account of his travel, compiled in The Travels of Marco Polo, introduced Europeans to Central Asia and China, eventually sparking curiosity and, you can say, inspiring others. You might be surprised to know that it was not just distance that made Marco Polo's journey so remarkable, but the depth of his observations. He didn't just pass through the lands he visited, he literally immersed himself in their cultures. He learned several Asian languages, adopted local customs, and even served as a government official in the court of Kublai Khan. Marco Polo's detailed accounts of his travels provide a fascinating and very exciting glimpse into the cultures and societies of the East during the 13th century. He wrote about the wealth and grandeur of the Chinese civilization, the custom and traditions of the people, and the exotic goods and technologies that were unknown in the West. Marco Polo marveled at the use of paper money in China, a concept that was unheard of in Europe at the time. He wrote about the efficient postal system and Grand Canal system, the production of porcelain, and the use of coal for heating and cooking. These accounts challenge the Europeans' perception of the East as backwards and uncivilized land, painting instead a picture of sophisticated and advanced civilization. Economic impact. Apart from being a trade route, the Silk Road was an economic lifestyle for many countries. Cities like Samarkand and Bukhara grew wealthy from the trades that passed through their gates. They became centers of cultures, learning, and innovation. It boosted local economies and led to the rise of prosperous cities. To give you an idea, during the height of Silk Road, the city of Palmyra's income was estimated to be around 10,000 pounds of gold annually. An interesting fact here is that during the same time, a pound of silk was worth more than a pound of gold in Rome. I mean, wow. The legacy. Today, the Silk Road might be a thing of the past, but its legacy lives on. The ancient cities along the routes, with their rich history and cultural heritage, continue to attract tourists from around the world. The goods were traded from silk to spices, continue to be valued commodities. UNESCO was recognized in the importance of preserving this legacy and has designated several sites along the Silk Road as a World Heritage Sites. These include the city of Samarkand in Uzbekistan, the Mogol Cave in China, and the Chang'an-Tianjin Corridor, which was one of the main roads of the Silk Road. And that's a wrap. So what aspect of the Silk Road intrigues you the most? Do you have any questions about its history, its impact on culture, or its relevance today? Drop in the comments. Before you go, don't forget to check our latest video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon. And thank you for watching.